Hey folks, Otto. Do you see that boulder? That's where Flight 93 came to rest. Of course, Flight 93 was out of Newark, New Jersey, bound for San Francisco. I'm gonna run you by the names of the passengers. Not much space for levity in this, so you'll excuse me for not having my normal good humor. I suppose through fate's generosity, God's benevolence, there were only 40 passengers on board, but that doesn't minimize the impact of what happened. It was just a lightly loaded plane. And nonetheless, those 40 passengers did what they could, of course. You can see on some of these names, for instance, I'll stop on CC Ross Lyles. You can see the inscription that says she was a flight attendant. This was on our way back from Hershey to Columbus, and I kind of insisted that we stop, considering it isn't too far from the freeway. In terms of the flight path, up there is the visitor center. You can see the walls kind of parallel what the flight path was. I don't want to misspeak here, because flight path implies some kind of like glide path or something. And as you might well be aware, the plane was pretty much inverted when it finally crashed. The struggle between the passengers and the terrorists. By the way, I should point out, when I say there were 40 passengers, there were 44 people listed as being on board. I just mean to say that between passengers and crew, there were 40 souls on board. There were 4 soulless heathens in addition to that. So the number of listed passengers is 44. Certain displays inside the museum, and honestly, by my own reasoning, I see no sense in counting those 4. It's the 40 that I focus on, and I think that should probably be understood. The thing about this place is it's beautiful country. It seems remarkably serene, and the flowers, so many flowers on the way down, and milkweed. If you're into butterflies, milkweed's pretty important to the caterpillar. Likes to put his cocoon there on the milkweed, and my dad used to take me butterfly hunting, and so that's where I picked up on that. So we saw some on the way down. I think butterflies are also something that add to the serenity of it. But that boulder, that seems to be the landmark. Hi. Shanksville is a very small town. I'm sure that's no surprise to anyone. this particular area, I mean, it was a strip mine before the crash. In fact, all of the investigative units or whatever, they use the strip mining buildings as their headquarters. Also, please forgive the wind. I'm sure it's making a lot of racket in the microphone. So yeah, in a way, this was an impromptu stop. It's one that I've wanted to make, and I haven't been to New York since 2001. I was there in 2001, though. In fact, New York City is a place that I've been to numerous times. Just well, not in the last 22 years. The funny thing is about, how 9/11 touched all of us. For me, it created a decision point in my life where I chose not to move to New York. To be honest, I didn't have much of a choice, because I was going to move into an apartment with my buddy Kurt, who lived out there. He moved there to be an actor. That's what I wanted to do as well. So I'd made plans with him to move there that fall. And that morning he called after the first plane hit. As is my habit, I did not answer. And so the answering machine got it, and his voice was elevated. He said I had to call him. He said, "Wake up." Probably used some profanity too. And so I did. And I was on the phone with him watching, oh gosh, I think it was Fox. Yeah, it was Fox. And then we saw the second plane hit, and then he got off the phone. Suffice to say, I didn't go through with the move. He moved out of New York anyway. He moved out of there, ultimately moved down to Florida. Still there, doing well. Got a wife and some kids. But so yeah, this girl, Kelly is her name, she was going to drive me out there to Manhattan. Maybe she'd spend a little time there, and then she'd go back. But she talked to me a few days later, and she said, "I'm not driving you out there now." And she said, "Well, what's the point? We can't even get on the island if we wanted to." And that was pretty much when the decision was made. I told her, I said, "Well, I think I need to talk to Kurt about this. I don't think I'm going." It's a minor setback in a life, Sometimes I do wonder what would be different if I did. But I stress that it's minor compared to the way people's lives are impacted on that day. But to me, 22 years later, it remains kind of strange that this boy from Central Ohio even had his life somewhat changed by it, albeit in a very slight sense. And I think even if one of your life decisions was altered because of 9/11, or rather wasn't altered because of 9/11, certainly everybody was touched. Sure, some more drastically than others. And my heart and my prayers still go out to them. But what a place. I do believe my wife and son went off this way, down here. but I'm not sure. And I hope they didn't start taking the path back. It's about a mile back up there. You know, from here it doesn't look like a mile, but it is. I don't usually post videos of this nature, right? And so I do want to say, even though with my community it probably needn't even be said, that if you have wild thoughts about 9/11 or ideas divorced from what the official narrative is, please don't talk about them in the comments. I'll kind of harbor a grudge against you, and I'll certainly delete them. I don't anticipate that. Even if some of you do think, well, whatever, inside job, all that business, just spare us of that in this, please. And I'd appreciate you for it. I'm not usually one to stifle discussion. Of course, in my streams, I don't like any politics or religion, generally speaking, but otherwise, yeah, I'm all for free speech, but there's just some stuff that I don't care for, to the point where I'd sooner shut it down than have to read or listen to it. I think we're all entitled to that. Anyways, that's kind of a side tangent, and I apologize for going there. In fact, in retrospect, I should have thought better of it, but it just doesn't seem the time or place for that kind of stuff. This particular area, I remember on one of the anniversaries, perhaps the 20th, President Bush spoke here. I watched it. I think I C-spanned it. It was a inappropriate ceremony, and not gonna lie, it kind of moved me. The wreath laying area, also not gonna lie, it needs more wreaths. You know? Well, here goes my wife and son, so we're gonna catch up with them. I think my wife just went to go to confirm that there was a parking lot for this particular spot, so we didn't have to take the mile hike. Although, honestly, she exercises much more than I do, so if anybody should be complaining, it would have been me. Certainly, given the circumstances, I don't think there'll be any complaints. Well, that caps off our trip. I think as I walk back up here, I'll talk a little bit more. Why not? Why not? You know, it's funny, and look at that guy. He ended up getting a Jolly Rancher sweatshirt. I'll show that off here in a second. Have him do some modeling. Show you the latest wear. Oh. So, you know, one of the craziest parts of this, in my opinion, is listening to ATC stuff. There was a point where I think it was 93, maybe it was 77, but I'm pretty sure it was 93. They're already over. Well, no, they asked what was going on. Is there something going on that we should know? I believe is what they said, although I may be paraphrasing it. And ATC said contact your airline. And violence. I thought that was unfortunate. I guess I can understand why, but because you want to keep lines of communication, concise, brief, the professionalism that is implied with all of that. But at the same time, if only they had just said it over the open air, things might have gone a little different. And then, of course, very shortly before the hijacking of 93, I believe it was the company typed out to them, beware cockpit intrusion, 2 planes crashed World Trade Center, and the flight crew asked for clarification. The co-pilot responded, "Please clarify." And that was 1 minute, barely 1 minute before the hijackers were in the cockpit. So even if they intended to send clarification, I can't imagine it ever came, or if it did, it was too late. And then, of course, everybody knows about some of the passengers, like Todd Beamer and those like-minded individuals that decided to storm the cockpit. And who knows how many lives they saved. Whether 93 was heading for the White House or the Capitol building. I believe we have reason to believe it was the Capitol building. Granted, those structures, I want to say they were evacuated. I know the White House was. I believe the Capitol building was. Can't see any reason why it wouldn't have been. But yeah, I guess those brave passengers fighting for their lives were, by proxy, saving untold lives on the ground. And my God, what a dark day. And there, my friends, I think is that little silver lining, that glimmer of victory against what felt like overwhelming defeat in the moment. I'm curious. I don't usually ask this kind of stuff, but if you got time and you're inclined, in the comments, tell me what you were doing that day. Tell me, I guess I shared with you how I found out and got on a phone call with my buddy Kurt and saw that second plane, and that's when we knew. And Kurt didn't want to chat anymore after that. He got off the phone. But where were you? What were you doing that day? After that, throughout the afternoon, I think, for some reason I ended up on OSU's campus, Ohio State University, and I know we went into a few shops. Certainly we ate. I think we went into a head shop. But, everywhere we went, people were fixated on the TV. Rightfully so. Then I went over to Joni's parents' house. I wasn't dating her at the time, but I was just getting to know her. And we sat on her front porch for a long time. Just kind of reflecting on the day, Anyways, folks, I think that'll do it for me. Oh, I was going to show you Billy's new sweatshirt. Hey, Billy, can you show off your sweatshirt that matches your sunglasses? Whoa, can you spin around? A little dancing. Woo, yes, very nice. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Looking good, son. All right, come on down from there.
I'm so good at it.
Oh, you can stay up there. That's fine.
Here's Mom.
Yeah.
What's this? It's a Nightmare Monkey Dream Mom.
Huh. All right, folks. Automatic here. I'll talk to you soon.